What is up, YouTube? Let's talk about freeware plugins. So a while ago I did a list of my top 5 free VST plugins. So the problem with that previous list is some of the plugins were outdated due to the fact that a lot of the DAWs have dropped support for 32-bit plugins. So I figured it's about time to update my list of top 5 favorite free VST plugins. Let's have a look. Number 5 is a plugin called Hysteresis by Mucoder. So it's essentially like a sequencer kind of arpeggio kind of thing going on. But the difference with this is it's kind of designed to be more of a sort of geometric rhythmic generator. So it's designed around LFOs and different sort of sequencer shapes and stuff to kind of create sequences. A lot less of a sort of musical approach and a lot more of a sort of mathematical and geometrical sort of approach to creating sequences. So this is really cool because it's a completely different approach to the sort of usual, musical take that you would find in a DAW, like with a piano roll or something like that. So this is cool. It kind of like forces you to, experiment and do things that you might not usually do with the piano roll. This one is truly unique in the fact that it doesn't actually have any sort of piano roll or sort of like chromatic musical sort of elements built into the plugin itself. It just sends out sort of modulation patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, I've linked it up to a simple FM patch that I've made in Serum, and this is what the effects that we can get out of it. So I'm not sure if you guys can tell kind of what's going on there. I've kind of set up these two LFOs. One is controlling the velocity of a signal, which is doing various things in the Serum patch, and the other one's controlling the gate of the signal. And then using this sort of noise parameter, you can introduce a sort of level of uncertainty into that sort of rhythmical pattern. So now what we can do is we can just go over to the Serum channel over here and record in a bunch of different sort of rhythms, which we can then sort of cherry pick and find something cool to work with. Cool, that's a pretty awesome little sequence that we've created there, and we can just kind of like glue that together and we've got our lead line. That's why I really dig this plugin. It's a sort of completely different take, but the sort of results are something that is sort of very musical. So yeah, that is Hysteresis by Mucoder, number 5 on my list. Number 4 is a plugin called Hysteresis by Glitch Machines. This isn't me, I've got nothing to do with this company, they've just got a similar name to myself. I do, however, really love delay effects, I'm sure you guys know by now. This one is interesting in that it has a stutter effect built in. Most delays have like mod effects and filters and stuff like that. This is a stutter, so it's a particular sort of like robotic kind of glitchy kind of sound that you can create with it, and the presets are wild. It sort of takes a sound from one dimension completely into another dimension, so it's really cool to experiment with. It's not the sort of regular delay that you would kind of expect, so this is kind of what I would go to for the more sort of experimental sound design, sort of, when creating ambiences and stuff like that. So let's have a listen to some of the sounds we can create with this on that Serum sound that we just created. Awesome, that is Hysteresis by Glitch Machines, number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list of top 5 free VST plugins for 2019 is Pancake Tube by Cable Guys. This is really cool because you can quickly create panning effects with all sorts of like modulation capabilities. You've got LFOs, very, very similar to kind of like LFO Tool, but this is sort of much more focused on just creating panning effects. So I'm going to quickly show you some of the capabilities with this in this plugin. Obviously not a full run through, but this is the sound that I can get out of it. This is an absolutely fantastic plugin for quickly creating depth in a mix. If you want to create that sound as if it's like, you know, several synths in this kind of like chorusy kind of effect, then using modulation of a pan can certainly help to kind of like bolster that effect in a synth sound. So definitely check that one out as well. Number 2 is Flower Child Filter by Sound Emote Labs. This filter is really cool because it's got an envelope follower built in. So it can kind of take the audio input and apply these kind of like envelope settings to the cutoff, for example. So we can create like an attack on a filter just using a sort of audio input, if that kind of makes sense. So if you've got like speech, you can use that to kind of like envelope follow a cutoff or all sorts of stuff like that. This allows us to create a sort of like resonant filter, lasery type of sound, but it uses the envelope of the audio input. So then you can kind of like dry wet it like I did now and layer it over the actual sound itself and create these kind of like psychedelic sounds that go to a rhythm. I mean, it would work with a drum loop or anything like that. So yeah, that is Flower Child Filter by Sound Emote Labs. Number 1 on my list is a plugin called PTEQX by Ignite Amps. This is a free emulation of the legendary PTEQX EQs, and this one in the middle specifically is really cool for adding a particular type of character to the low end of like a bass or a kick or something like that. It's not the kind of EQ that I would use for like clinical cutting because it's very, very particular as to the sort of like character that it adds, but there's a ton of tutorials on YouTube and online and all over the place that recommend like the Waves PTEQ, the UAD, and all sorts of other like really expensive emulations of this plugin. I'm not saying one is better than the other or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's really cool that now we have the option of a free version. I've got it bypassed on my kick at the moment, and I'm going to turn it on so you guys can hear kind of like the difference that it makes to the low end. There's obviously various settings, but this is the kind of vibe that it's sort of known to do. Anyway. It might be a little bit drastic. I'm probably gonna, fine tune it a little bit, but I just wanted to quickly show you guys the sort of capabilities of, very fine tuning for a specific character, of a certain sound. It doesn't change the actual sound itself, but there's a particular kind of like bump in the low end that it creates, which is particularly cool with kicks and sidetrans basses and stuff like that. Awesome, I hope you guys enjoyed my list of top 5 free VST plugins for 2019. I'm gonna go ahead and post a link to where you can find all the download links for these particular plugins in the description below, so definitely check that out. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If there's a plugin that I should maybe check out that's also free that I've maybe missed out on, let me know in the comments as well. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.